That's enough.
Good evening, everybody. Am I on? Yeah. It's on. Oh, good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming out again on this, was a little nicer night today. First, before we start the meeting, there are exits in the back of the room. This is not an exit. That's not really, you can get out that way, but you gotta go through another room. That exit goes into the hall and you go that way. That exit goes directly to the outside in the event of an emergency, which hopefully we won't have one. First, we'll do the salute to the flag and a moment of silent prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you, everybody. First, I'm going to go to the podium for this because our first item is to honor our resident of the month. So would you like to come up here, William? Since you're the only one of the right age group, I kind of figured who you were. So this young man is William Champagne. He's an 8th grader at Ballston Spa Middle School. William came to our attention through the Toys for Tots campaign. They awarded him as an ambassador by the National Foundation. He attended and created events. He helped a lot at the warehouse. He contacted sponsors. In his application, they said, Will has always shown a drive and passion to volunteer. Will takes the initiative in helping and spends many of his weekends giving back to the community. Now, while it was the Toys for Tots that brought him to our attention, we later found out that's not the only place he gives back. He participates and volunteers with the Greenwich Fire Department in their youth program. He volunteers for the Malta Veterans Appreciation Program. He volunteers with the Veterans Coalition Housing Community. He's a member of the Junior National Honor Society. He assists with Malta Round Lake Baseball, and he participates in many 5K runs to benefit first responders. He also is an avid competitor with RC cars and has won numerous track championships. So on behalf of the entire town board, Will, I want to thank you for making Malta and Saratoga County a better place to live. So can we get a picture up here with the rest of the board? Maybe Ron, if you want to come up to the picture?
We coming down?
Yeah. We're lucky to have kids like this in our town.
Congratulations.
If we want to scooch in more, are we okay?
Want to get centered.
Oh.
Barbara, your flashlight's on.
Everybody good? Congratulations. All right, next I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes from the town clerk for our January 29th meeting.
I'll motion it. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I added for tonight a item on our agenda for correspondence. We received one correspondence from Murray Eitzman. He had a couple of questions. Dear our Town of Malta Supervisor and Town Board, could I get an update on the issue of whether the Village of Round Lake property owners can pay fire district property taxes to support our fine fire companies in Malta? I believe there was to be a meeting. This will save taxpayers in Malta on average and help pay for future increased costs on a shared basis. The village gets a great service from much bigger fire department than they could otherwise afford due to the leverage provided by the very large property valuations in the town of Malta outside the village boundaries. So I'll answer that question first. One thing to understand is the town of Malta cannot impose a tax on the village of Round Lake. They have to decide to do it themselves. And even if that were the case, it may not change what the rest of Malta pays to the fire companies, because basically we contract with two separate agencies, the Malta Ridge Volunteer Fire Company and the Village of Round Lake, to provide fire services to us. Round Lake has a little unique sort of, makeup in that we pay the village, we contract with the village, then their agency, the Round Lake Hose Company, provides the service. Again, we can't impose that tax. They have to do it themselves. As far as I know, they're discussing it, was the last I heard. I haven't asked recently where they stand on it. So when I get more information, I will be sure that you get more information. The second question is, could we get an update on the zoning study plan that is needed to facilitate the implementation of the zoning recommendations made in the comprehensive plan? We put out a request for proposals. We received 2 proposals back, and they've been evaluated, and I believe we will be awarding the bid to the lowest bidder on our March meeting. So we'll get moving on that. Thank you. That's all the correspondence I have.
I just want to comment on that. Yes, we can't impose a tax on Round Lake. The only thing that we can control, Cynthia mentioned, is that we have a contract with Round Lake, and that's the only thing we can control. So, just wanted to say that point.
Anything else? Next, we have comments from town residents.
Okay, my name is Linda Noble, and I live in Luther Forest. The town board meeting that was January 29th, I'm concerned about what transpired at that meeting, and will address what I'm concerned about in the order that it occurred. The 3 people representing New York Citizens Audit, they stated their names, they provided little information about themselves. Ann Broker said she was a resident of New York, state, city, I don't know. The others just said that they were volunteers with the New York Citizens Audit. Are any of them residents of Malta? I mean, you probably can't answer that, but it would be nice to know. Are they all citizens of New York State? I don't know. I didn't hear anything stated, and I have to admit that I never heard of their org. So I started to research. Here's what I found. This group is officially listed as New York State Audit Civic Fund Incorporated. Although the org is now investigating supposed voter irregularities in 2022, they actually were organized at least as far back as the 2020 election. They are registered as a 501c3 designation, which is described as a religious, educational, or that type of organization, etc., and fueled by anonymous donors. Donations can be claimed on tax returns. On further research, I found that they have a connection to a parent spinoff organization named United Sovereign Americas Incorporated that operates at least in 26 states across the country, according to the website. That organization is listed as a 501c4 organization, a social welfare organization which may engage in political activities, including lobbying. In certain cases, they must report their donations. From my understanding, these orgs can provide funding for the 501c3 orgs, which the one that spoke here is. I found that these 2 orgs are linked by stumbling across a platform called Rumble. It's similar to YouTube, where numerous videos are posted of their presentations to small-town community boards across New York State. I have provided a link here, and I'll give you a copy. The connection to the United Sovereign Americans was made at 6.58 minutes into that video. Excuse me, I'm not dry. These organizations seek state voter lists that provide the voter's name, address, party affiliation, and their personal information, which could possibly fall into the wrong hands. There's a link to a Spectrum News, I guess it was a program here, on here also. Going further, I found both organizations, including their officers' accounts on X, formerly known as Twitter. I found that it was a very interesting and informative journey for myself. Finally, in September of 2023, a cease and desist letter from the New York State Attorney General was sent to the New York Citizen Audit Civic Fund Incorporated, the group posing as the New York State Election Board officers visited the homes of legal voters in their homes, posing as election board officers to intimidate them. They accused these legal voters from 13 New York counties, including Saratoga, of voter fraud. I have provided a link to the Spectrum News article and the letter from the Attorney General here. It's really simple to find a trove of official information about any entity if someone cares to search and verify. I advise anyone interested to explore this further. I urge the board to verify before you trust this particular group if you are contemplating taking up their resolution, as some of you indicated at the last meeting. On another subject, lastly, please stop anger finger pointing on the bench. Each one of you was elected to collectively make smart decisions for the town. Go ahead and have your disagreements in private, and then please come to meetings prepared with constructive comments and solutions to move this town forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
I'd like to add to her, hi, I'm Cynthia. I'd like to add to her thing that she just said. I don't want those people knowing my information or who I am or what I vote for either. I oppose any kind of audit because I don't think they're from Malta and they shouldn't be here.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Not like it was that TV.
Hi, I'm Dana Noble. I'm also a Malta resident, related to Linda. In my opinion, if the New York Citizens Audit truly had factual data that supported their accusations that the vote in 2022 was rigged, they should take it to the courts. Instead, they're going about the state asking town boards to vote in support of their conspiracy in hopes that they can dupe New York taxpayers to fund their attempt to muddy the waters in advance of the 2024 elections. In my opinion, they are looking for headlines, not facts. I would request that this board, should they decide to take up this resolution, that the votes of each board member be recorded by name. I think it is important for the Malta town residents to know which of our town members, council members, believe we run free and fair elections and who do not. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana.
I got one more. I'm sorry, I just thought of this. They can't sit there, you guys are the ones that decide if they're gonna have a resolution, right? Am I correct?
Yes.
Well, I would request as a Malta resident that you do not give them a resolution and do what that guy said and make them go to the courts, because this isn't TV, this is our town meetings. And politics really shouldn't be in it. Let's be about all of us and all of our stuff.
Anyone else?
I can't stand one.
Okay, we will move on to comments from the town board. I have a couple of things. The first is on Friday morning around 8 a.m., the Round Lake Fire Department and the Malta Stillwater EMS were called out for a person who had fallen through the ice on Round Lake. The efforts of multiple agencies, including Round Lake Hose Company, Malta Stillwater EMS, Malta Ridge Volunteer Fire Company, Arvin Hart Fire Company, Boston Lake Fire Company, the New York State Police, and the Saratoga County Sheriff's Department all worked together to save this man's life. So thank you to all that were there, and again, we're lucky to live in a place where people will come out at 8 a.m. and help somebody and save a life. So the other thing I just want to report is there's been a lot of talk about the Miller Road traffic signs. We did post the results for the last quarter of 2024 or 2023 on the website. They can be found on the highway page. And there's a little blurb on the bottom that says road information, I think. So there's the data is there for anybody to look at. Anybody has any questions, they should call the supervisor's office. That's all I have. Anybody else?
All resolutions are captured by name, aren't they, on how we vote? So it's,
Yes.
to answer your question, everyone's name is associated with every resolution on how they vote.
Anybody else? We'll move on then to our resolutions. The first 5 resolutions are really things that I say are kind of housekeeping. The first 2 involve appointments that should have been made at the organizational meeting and were overlooked. First one is to appoint Charles Weintraub as a member of the CERT team.
So moved?
Second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Second are some people that should have been and now will be appointed to the Malta Emergency Management Committee. It's Scott Skinner from Malta EMS, Kristen Gottman, Jean Ledoux, and Matt McLaughlin.
So move?
Second.
All in favor, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next is to authorize some of our staff to go to the New York State Parks and Recreation Conference.
So moved.
I was reading, sorry. Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
This is to authorize the permit. We have to close the road for our Veterans Day Parade on May 18th. It involves closing Route 9. So in order to do that, we have to have a permit from the New York State DOT.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
This resolution is to establish summer pay rates for our staff for our summer camps. As everybody knows, they go up every year, so this just is, the nominal increase for them.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
That's done with the housekeeping. Now we get to the meat. This resolution is to approve the Saratoga County Sheriff's contract. Just a note, we have a budget transfer in there. Obviously, it's February. We have, on the advice of our comptroller, we have adjusted the contract rate to take February out of the contract. It's unclear whether or not we've actually been provided that service for January. When I reached out, I didn't really get any response back. So we're authorizing the contract with a reduction of $12,000, and we may come back and find something different.
Go ahead.
It's about $27,000 for the month. The budget transfer would include about a $12,000 increase from what we had originally anticipated for 2020.
Right, because the contract went up, right.
Are we ready? So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I proposed this last week, and we never, I'm not sure we actually had a consensus, but it's a resolution to increase the salary of our town historian. Right now, we pay our historian annual stipend of $2,000. That's the lowest of other municipalities that we looked at. I am proposing that we increase it by $1,500, and that's a year, so it would be a $3,500 a year stipend for the town historian.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
This resolution, again, we discussed last week, our social media policy calls for the town board to be able to actually physically approve any use of anything else. Right now, the town's social media is only using Facebook, and we would like to add Instagram and X to be able to reach out to a different demographic than uses just Facebook.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
I thought there'd be more platforms. I guess not, huh? No, just checking.
Start small, we'll start small.
I'm all for it.
Quick question.
Yep.
I'm assuming the social media policy lists proper and improper uses of social media?
Yes. And our social media policy says we can only have one account, so we have a Town of Malta account that limited people have access to. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
This last resolution is a budget transfer to add a piece of equipment for our maintenance department. We authorized them to buy a Bobcat, and this piece of equipment, it's an auger that they think they can use as parts of, one thing is fencing in the Mangino's property, and if he orders it now, we can actually get it now. We don't have to wait 3 years for it to be available. So that's a budget transfer of $4,400.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Wait,
Oh.
Julia,
I just want to add a little bit more to that one. Apart from just, erecting the fence where needed in the parks, it's also to be used for landscaping, such as digging the holes, help save, help of our workers here, as well as a storybook walk boards that will be added later this year thanks to a grant.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Last thing on our agenda is additional comments. Anybody out there have anything additional they want to share with us?
Good evening, Mark Hammond, Malta Ridge. Just a few questions. I wonder if you could provide update on some of the items that have been in motion now for a while. I know in 2023, we had several major improvements, basically, that have been in motion, one of which the East Line Road in 67. As I'm sure you're aware, we have the $1 million grant for that, and we had to design only. Sorry, it wasn't a grant, it was courtesy of Saratoga County, which was through CDTC. Just wondering what the status is of that. I know we were moving, when I was in office, going from design hopefully right into construction, and we were busy looking for ways to fund that. And I didn't know if you'd made any progress on that. Won't expect an answer tonight, but I'd like to know at some point, please. Mangino's, I talked to you in the hall. You mentioned you had gotten together with the older committee that I had established in-house. I just wonder, will the minutes be available for folks to see of that meeting, or will that have to be foiled?
I
Just
think,
a question.
I think I think discuss it.
I
we
think it's
probably
important that
provide those.
folks remain updated on that. I'm glad to see that you're keeping that in motion. Also, another one that was in motion for a while was a mid-block crossing right out here. CT Mail, as you know, is working on that. Do we have an update on that? How are we getting closer to that going in? I know that that was approved and engineering was working on that. And lastly, the Saratoga Water. I know there was quite a bit of discussion at the last meeting, the purchase thereof, Saratoga Water Services. And just curious if we are on track with keeping what we had discussed in terms of the cost, or if that is looking to be increased at this time based on what, if any, actions have taken place since January 1st.
I will say this, though, I misspoke last time saying 13 something, it is 14, I went and looked at the minutes, it's 14.7, so
14.3.
14.3, 7, my dyslexia.
And I asked these questions.
Dyslexia kicking in. Is it 14.3 or 14.7?
I asked that question in particular because that one is
I'm bracketing.
extremely important for a number of reasons. As you well know, the talks that we worked on, the negotiating as such took place for 18 months, and we arrived at that price to keep it as soluble as possible and as affordable for people within the district. So I'd hate to see that number go up. And that's all I have.
I will make sure that your questions are addressed at the next meeting, Mark, or personally, when you want to come in.
Good evening. My name is Rick Hanley. I live at 6 Danbury Drive here in the town of Malta. I have a request. There are Monday nights when I don't care to shave and I cut on some sweatpants and sit in front of my computer and watch the show on TV. However, when Christian or Julie makes a contribution to the meeting, I can't hear what they say. So I would request that when they address the group, that they either have a microphone that they can use or that they come up to the podium so we can hear the response. That's all.
Yeah, thank you, Rick, and I apologize for that. We have talked about that, and we'll try to be better at it.
And I have something to say too, and I don't even know how to start it, but I'm gonna be very discreet about it. Last week, I did not feel safe in this building. For my very first time, I've been coming here since like February, January last year. But you had an individual, the meeting was very long, to which I'm not complaining. I mean, I've got nothing to do at the house at this time of the night. But the meeting had been going on for about an hour and a half. And then 20 minutes prior to the meeting stopping, you had an individual walk in, sit down, keep playing with his coat and kept moving something around his coat. Then he's sitting there tapping on the table and mumbling to himself. And it just didn't make me feel safe. Besides those 3 people that got up and are trying to get people's information of who's a voter and what their voter information and how they vote is not their business, I really don't want those people to know my business. But I didn't feel safe in the building last week. Wasn't really because of them, but whoever that was back there was sitting there mumbling about what they had discussed and wanted me to get up and walk into the hallway. And then I told him no, I was going to listen to him because he was getting up here. Just so you know what the animosity was last week, I really didn't feel safe. And I don't feel like that too often because I feel like I can take care of myself. But
Thank you,
not
Cynthia.
against not against something of a weapon, and I'm sitting right next to the door, and that's where I'm gonna sit because I feel like I can get out quicker or crash something if I have to, but I shouldn't have to feel like I should have to do that because I'm at a meeting where everybody's supposed to be nice and you don't have to worry about people coming in with stuff at this meeting. There's most buildings like this that have the town meetings or any kind of other meetings and stuff, they have some type of security. You know what I mean? So which one of you guys are going to be the security here? Because here, there's none. Anybody comes in, look, that is pow, 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 and that's it. I don't want to be one of those people laying down.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Thank you. So does that mean you're going to do something about getting security here? Some type of
Yes.
security?
We'll evaluate it.
Yeah, or something, because you just never know. Come sit up here with us. No, I'm definitely not sitting in the front. There, we should have a first. I'm in the corner.
Any other comments?
I'm in the corner. I just want, oh, and there's one other thing. Where's the guy that's usually up there, Craig? Is he sick?
He's out sick.
Okay, tell him I hope he feels better.
I have a short thing. I went back to watch the video afterwards, and there was a big thing of the chart that you had there, but there was a little tiny thing in the bottom for the whole time that the video was on, so something got messed up. You couldn't see the whole video. And the other thing is that it went on for 4 hours. I was trying to tell my neighbor to watch it, and she says, "It's 4 hours long." And I said, "No, it's not." Anyway.
Yeah, that was a little glitch, the extra time on the end. We're hoping that doesn't happen again, but thanks, Linda. Anything else? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, everyone.